Hey, it's Jade welcoming you to another one of the Currents virtual sessions. And today we are joined by Deep Sea Diver. The Seattle band has their
Hey.
third album, Hi, and the third album is called Impossible Weight. It just came out about a week ago now, and frontwoman Jessica is here joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. And thanks for having me. I love your station and it's a treat to be on. So thank you.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. I'm so happy to have your ghost or your skeleton friend in the background as well. Do you have a name for your skeleton friend?
I haven't named him yet. I was doing like a telethon that I was shooting a Halloween thing for, and I should probably think about that. Everything else has names in my studio, so I'll get on that.
Yeah, thank you. Next time we check in, we'll need to
Yeah.
know skeleton's name.
Yeah.
Uh, so something I've been thinking about a lot in this sort of COVID era that we are living in, 2020. And that means something huge to everybody pretty much right now. But how vulnerability is a big theme for everyone
Mm.
this year because people are feeling vulnerable and raw. And
Yeah.
in several of the interviews, you mentioned that there was a lot of vulnerability that went into your new album. And I think that, you know, even if it wasn't written for this time, vulnerability is so important and I feel like so center of focus to people that these
Mm.
songs can't help but kind of connect in that way. And so I guess could you tell us a little bit about what went into that vulnerability and where you were at when you were recording these songs?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad that you're recognizing that, and it's so interesting that this album is coming out in this time because the album was finished for a year, and I had no idea it was going to come out in the middle of a pandemic, and so it was painful to sit on it like that, but it just makes sense now that it's in the world. So grateful for that. At the time that I started writing this record, I was just not in a very good place and kind of just questioning a lot of things. I think it's the scary thing for artists and musicians and bands who've been doing music for a long time to kind of pause and start asking yourself those scary questions of like, what do I want music to look like moving forward? Should I be doing it in the same way I have been doing it? Not will I keep doing it, but what does that look like? And there was just some stuff that got unearthed in me that kind of like really brought me to a halt, and life got colorless for a while. I couldn't explain it. It was a lot of anxiety and depression that I was dealing with, and it didn't make sense for, the highs that I was coming off of from our last record and getting ready to go in the studio. And I just kind of, yeah, slowed down to a halt and like needed to take time to ask those questions of myself. And so once I started writing and getting to a place where I felt joy again and like ready to be vulnerable, just felt more prepared to, in a more bold way than ever, just kind of like take off the veil, and just say things a little more simply too. Because I think sometimes I can be a little too veiled and poetic in my lyrics, and I just needed to say some mantras that I was, saying to myself: "Don't be afraid, don't be ashamed. This is an impossible weight. Let's all carry it together." So yeah, there's the long story short.
That
I'll
is
ramble if you let
indeed.
me.
Oh, I happily ramble. So this is going to be a
Yeah.
12-hour session. You're all welcome to
It's
enjoy.
a marathon. Welcome.
Uh, but so you mentioned It's an Impossible Weight, which is the name of the album. And I heard that it was the last song that you were
Yeah.
recording for this album. So how did that end up? And did you know you wanted Sharon Van Etten to be a voice on it, or was that something that came
Mm.
super late?
Everything. I was literally just talking about this a few minutes ago with Peter, my partner who plays drums in the band, of just like how serendipitous it was that Impossible Weight came to be after we thought the record was finished, and that ended up being the name of the record, because I think it was always in my subconscious of just like, it's like I knew what the record needed to be called, but it hadn't been written yet. And I think it's so beautiful. And so anyways, when we wrote this song, I co-wrote it with my friend Jen DeSilvio, and she's incredible. And when we went to the studio the night before, I saw Sharon play at the Neptune, and I've been a big fan of hers for a long time. And so it was a no-brainer to go see her play when she played in Seattle. And I, in a fleeting moment, Instagrammed a story saying, "There's no place I'd rather be the night before we finished the record." So the next day we went in, and I literally said out loud to my co-producer Andy Park, I was just like, "Gosh, I think it was because I just saw the show. I was like, it would be so amazing if Sharon sang on the song because I just heard, I could hear her harmonies and her vocals on it, and it was just like a pipe dream comment, you know." And then a few hours later, she ended up messaging me on Instagram, like, "God bless social media, you know, the good and the bad, I'll take it."
That's
So
amazing.
which you know, and I did tag her and I reached out and I had messaged her before, but we hadn't connected yet, and so that was the first time we connected. And I didn't, you know, immediately after her messaging me say, "Will you sing on my song?" We, you know, became friends
You
and
played
talked
it
a little
cool.
bit. Yeah, totally. I was at least tried to. I mean, not in person. If she would have sung, I was just like, "Oh my God, Sharon messaged me. That's amazing." So, anyways, we became friends, and the song ended up connecting with her when I sent it, and just the process was so natural and beautiful, and like would have never guessed in a million years that collaboration would have happened. And so yeah, what she brought was just a strength and boldness and an intimacy to the song that I, you know, can only dream for. So yeah, love you, Sharon.
Well, it's beautiful on the album, but I do want you all to hear the version that we got from Deep Sea Diver just for you. So let's check that out right now. We'll chat some more in a bit, but this is Impossible Weight. It is the title track from the new album from Deep Sea Diver, and it's on the current virtual session.
This is Impossible Weight. This is what it feels like walking in a straight line, straight top clicking in my ear. This is what it feels like, cliffs are broken, mine once were in an island here. A million times tongue tied, spit it out, never mind. I think I'm addicted to the fear. Stutter in my heart from the hurry up stop, dragging my heels around, dragging my heels around. Back then was then, and this is now. I tried so hard not to let you all down. It's an impossible way, so I'll just set you down now. Ooh. Steady as the wheel turns on my way. It's okay, picking up the pieces, put them down. Stutter in my heart from the hurry up stop, dragging my heels around, dragging my heels around, dragging my heels around. But then was then, and this is now. I tried so hard not to let you on down, but then was then, and this is now.
That is Impossible Weight, which is also the name of the new album out from Deep Sea Diver. And we're lucky enough to have Jessica from the band here with us. And I kind of wanted to circle back to something that you said a few minutes ago about how when you were creating this album a couple of years ago, you were in a place where you were questioning a lot of things. You kind of put pause on the band and were trying to figure out what you
Yeah.
were going to do. And I almost feel like that's ahead of the curve because there are so many bands now that are forced to kind of pump the brakes, put pause on everything because, touring's
Mm,
not happening right now. And so a lot of people are questioning, all right, how do I really want my band to sound? Who am I in this? How does the music industry work
totally.
these days? And do you feel like you are further along on those conversations because those were the questions you were asking 3 years ago?
Mm. I think in a sense, yes. There is I think, a newfound sense of confidence that I got from being able to go through that journey with my band and together. And like, I had everyone's support when it came to wanting to produce the record for the first time. I ended up co-producing it, but that was a huge step for me. And we just wanted to sharpen the tip of everything in songwriting and recording and producing. And I really felt that support. So I think now, we are indeed like asking the same questions as so many other bands are of just like, how do we make this work and how do we like keep momentum going? It's so tricky, but I am very grateful that we went through those hardships. Yeah. A few years back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a strange place, I think, for everybody. I mean, outside of the music industry too, but in the music industry, I know you were just saying you were doing a telethon, and
Yeah.
I saw that you edited and created the music video for one of your songs as well. So kind of
Oh
branching out
yeah.
and discovering new things about yourself. Is there something I mean, maybe it is the music video, but is there something that you've really learned about yourself as a creative person in the past couple of months?
Yeah, I think that uh, instead of getting down on myself for, in the past, I would kind of hear the critic voice of, why am I not as prolific as I should be, songwriting wise? Those, I think a lot of artists deal with that. You're on this 2 year cycle of you put out a record, you tour, you do that for 2 years, then you have to go straight back in the studio and do the whole thing again. And so for me, I kind of fall into the Feist world of things where, records are a little more spaced out. And I appreciate that about myself now. But one of the things that I've taken from this time is like, because we learned how to video edit and because you couldn't hire a crew, to do these things in person or to be there. And we've just learned how to do so much more on our own and to flex a different kind of creative muscle, which I think is just as valuable and like helpful to my own songwriting as well, to have our hands in different, pots or whatever.
Yeah. No, I think that's weirdly, it's going back to like old school MTV where everybody's just being
Yeah,
really creative at home and trying to come up with something fun and engaging for
totally.
their audiences. And you've toured with a bunch of artists. You've, gone on tour playing guitar with the Shins, with Beck, yeah, yeah, yeahs. And I'm wondering if all of those years, if there was something that you took away from those artists that you try and implement for your own self when you're on
Mm.
tour or when you're making music. You just said you have kind of the Feist style of releasing music, but is there something
Yeah,
from those artists that you've worked with?
definitely. Uh, it's like, I think all those years, it was just me and osmosis of taking all of the different characteristics and performance elements. I think of Karen O. I learned how to be a better front woman from watching her every night while playing their songs. And
Yes.
like with the Shins, all that jangly guitar playing and getting into James's head as a songwriter. And he has a lot of fun with lyrics and his parts. And there's a lot of call and response guitar parts. And so I think that kind of naturally started flowing out of my guitar playing and in my own voice and songwriting. And, with Beck, like he's such a chameleon. And I think I learned how to not be afraid of genre hopping or emulating someone else and then figuring out how to turn that into your own voice. And so, yeah, I've learned so much. And then, from being on different festival circuits with all of those bands, I've seen, My Morning Jacket and Jim James and Nels Klein from Wilco, Jeff Tweedy, and all these people that I'm always trying to keep my antenna up and just like gather as much as I can because it's just more fun that way, anyways.
Yeah. There was a really great thing you said, and I think it was Guitar World, where you were talking about this album specifically and sort of the style of guitar, but specifically talking about guitar solos and how
Mm.
I don't want to get this wrong, but you said it's 100% me getting out the depression and anxiety and all the things I felt bubbling to the surface. And I'm wondering if guitar is your first musical language. When you're working on something or thinking about something or having deep feelings, is the guitar the first thing that you reach for?
It depends. I think there's different kinds of emotions that I feel from different instruments. With piano, it's often when I'm feeling a little more somber. Guitar is a little more punk. Like, behind me is a Nick Cave poster. I'm a big fan of The Birthday Party and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds and that punk, frenetic, angsty energy. And I tend so I pendulum swing between both of those instruments depending on what I'm feeling. But with guitar solos, it just feels like an extension. I've been playing for a long time, and I love the feeling of it being an extension of my voice, where there's no delineation or marker between when I'm singing and then playing the guitar, and it feels like a lyric or something like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can feel it in the album. And I do want to get to some more music here because as we were saying earlier, I could ramble on for quite some time, but you recorded some more songs for us previously, and I want to make sure that we get to those. So here are a couple more songs performed live from Deep Sea Diver off the new album Impossible Weight. This one is Shattering.
All right, this is Shattering the Hourglass. It's the first track off of our brand new record called Impossible Weight. Shattering the hourglass. Try to make a moment last. Do I have to be strong enough? Walk into another world where everything will unfurl. Do I have to be strong enough to know what to do? I don't know what to do. I could see you miles away, glowing like a gamma ray, and you slipped through my fingertips. Did I make the most of it? Set me free. I can't set me free. This is Switchblade. She was on the way to her apartment, walking on the switchblade. Both of us headed in the same direction. I could hear what she was saying. But do I get so down? Oh, I get so down. Your father was a man of 1,000 excuses. Never tried to make it right. She learned not to flinch, even with all those bruises, hoping things would change in time. I know you get so down, it's harder than you think. Oh, I get so down, it's hard to receive. I know you get so down, it's harder than you think. I can't pretend to know which way you should go. Now you walk alone to a broken melody, and I don't wanna fix you, I just want you to be free. But all your love, well, it's lost in a dream. I know you're ready to give up this time. I know you get so down, it's harder than you think. Oh, I get so down, it's hard to receive. I know you get so down, it's harder than you think. I can't pretend to know which way you should It's harder than you think. I know you get so down, it's hard to receive. I know you get so down. You were on the way to your apartment, walking with the switchblade. Both of us looking for some kind of direction. I could hear you when you said, I know you get so down.
You're watching the current virtual sessions. This is Jade, and we're joined by Deep Sea Diver, and that was Switchblade. And Jessica, I just want to say I'm in love with the album. I think this is so great.
Thank you.
It's such a bizarre time for everybody to be releasing music, but I'm just so grateful that you guys are releasing music and playing it and allowing us to listen to it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for spinning it, and thank you to everyone in Minneapolis who's tuning in. Thank you, guys.
Heck yeah, and hopefully we'll have you on tour and back in Minneapolis and St. Paul sometime soon.
Yes, that would be
Deep
amazing.
Heck yes. So Deep Sea Diver's new album, Impossible Weight, is out now if you're enjoying those songs. Jessica, again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And I just want to say thank you to our technical producers, Jesse and Derek, and engineer Eric. And thank you for watching another one of the Currents virtual sessions, and keep checking back for the next one.